Let's, why don't you, can we just try it for a few minutes? If it doesn't work, we'll drop it. All right. I'm going to talk, I'm not going to make up anything. I'm rather concerned about one thing as a president of the university, among others, but at a personal level. I really have some difficulties in a large institution because I feel like I'm a non-person. That is, I am regarded as some thing, you know, some apparition. It could be good or bad, and I have to think a lot about that. I have to think of what it's worth, and it really bothers me.
You almost find yourself diminished as a person.
I never would have used the word off. Yes. Like nothing, you know, like I'm
just an
not
object,
heard.
just an object in the picture, and not really accepted as a person or able perhaps to be a person.
Yeah, both. And I feel there's a stake in not allowing me to be to be me.
I see. That either the institution or some people in it or something have an investment in making sure you don't emerge as a person.
Yeah. I don't know whether it must sound very strange. Whoever thinks of...
It doesn't occur to me to evaluate it as strange or not strange. It is what is happening in you, I guess.
But, you know, if I go on, I'm going to start to get more serious than I intended to. But I like growth, potential for growth, conditions for it, understanding, authenticity or congruity, incongruity, and incongruity. How did these... What was there about your background? Now to revert to one of the things I'd like to talk with you about. What gave you this conviction and this? Where did it come from?
I've been fortunate in not having a mentor. I didn't have any guiding mentor that I had to depart from. I feel if there's one thing that's true about my thinking, my theories, it is that they've sprung from an examination of my own experiences as the raw data out of which theory and principles and so on can grow. And I had, as I say, I had 12 years of that. I've been fortunate in not having a mentor. I've been lucky in being left alone.
I've been lucky in having been left alone. Is that what you just said? Yeah, that's not altogether true. I mean, you've created that for yourself, haven't you? You sound as if you found yourself left alone. Indeed,
no, that's true.
Like, let's take a look at mentors.
I'm pretty good at creating situations where nobody dares to interfere.
You know, that's a toughness grown out of somewhere now, that not allowing anybody to divert you too. But mentor, authenticity, being oneself, growth, I can understand from the farm, but what is there about being real? Being why? What is it? Where does it come
this
from?
probably is a very inadequate explanation, but it seems to me that too grows out of the learning from my clients. If I've had a mentor, there have been thousands of mentors of people whom I've tried to help, and I think I have learned from them the tremendous sense of satisfaction they feel when they move from being phony or defensive or working behind a facade into a more real type of behavior. And I'm sure I've learned from that to try to apply that to myself too. Not always successfully, but more and more so. It is so much more satisfying to be real than to be phony that that's the only explanation I can give. It's not. I don't think it comes from I don't think it comes from the negative side of feeling mad at people who are inauthentic.
No, I put it the wrong way.
I can feel critical of such people, but that isn't what that isn't what started it. I really think it was seeing what happened to my clients. That I put it this way: I provided the conditions which oftentimes helped them to grow in ways that I hadn't yet grown, and that's a very challenging kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes you think, why can't I do that? Why am I not that way?
Did you say that too when you were with a client?
To them?
Yeah.
No, I think not. Because when I started in, I was, I would say that now, but I was not that authentic.
You know, I don't, I'm struck with it because I think being inauthentic, where there's an inauthentic molecule, there must be a, you know, that any inauthentic thought has an inauthentic molecule. There's something's not working in the body. Mm-hmm. Now, what about, there's a body, where's the body in your work? I mean, I don't know why I asked that. It just came.
I think I have a pretty profound respect for the physiological base of human behavior. And one of the things that I have learned to do in myself and probably help others to do too, is to listen to my body. I became sensitive to my own body, and that's why I say I really have a lot of respect for the physiological base of behavior. And I think one other, this is perhaps only remotely associated with that question, but I think the stress on the rational mind is greatly misplaced because it is just the top peak of a whole physiological evolutionary development. It is the latest, you can call it the highest development. It's incredible that man does know how to reason and all that. But to try to isolate it as though that was the man, his thinking apparatus, I think just disregards an enormous amount of his feelings, his physiological reactions, his genetic makeup, the whole business.
What would you do? What does one do in a world where decisions are made on the illusion of that feelings are not very relevant, and even soft-headed and, God knows, even feminine, and questionable at that?
And maybe the women will be of help on that, I don't know. I hope so. At any rate, one of the things that sometimes people don't understand about me is that I am a very feelingful person, but I've got a tough mind, too. And I like it. I do. And
why do you have to say that? I mean, don't people, well, I know why you have to say it. But I think I see that so clearly in you, see, but well, tell me more about that. It seems like you haven't accepted that.
I think
yet.
That I haven't or they haven't.
That you haven't accepted the fact that they haven't accepted.
Oh, that's, yes, I refuse to accept the fact that they haven't accepted it. But I think that just as I like to enter into a feelingful relationship with another person, it is an equally strong part of me that I want to make some sense out of that. What kind of intellectual sense does that make? And so I have, well, some of the most rewarding times I've spent were in working over a couple of year period on a very rigorous statement of my theories that isn't too much read, I don't think, but it is, and maybe it shouldn't be, but it was of great value to me because it said to me when I got through, you can make logical, intellectual, rational sense out of all these subtle, feelingful, intuitive kinds of areas in which you're working.
You've allowed yourself to be recorded and transcribed and do more empirical work and at every stage in your career than anybody in an equivalent position, always. And despite occasionally your protestations about theoretical cognitive, you are cognitive,
yes,
as well as affective. Okay, why then do you not? Why don't people? In fact, your students have done a lot of this too. What the hell? What is this?
It may be in part that my approach to knowledge is too threatening for most psychologists. Part of it is that it is based on generally phenomenological approach, and where it is based upon examining one's experience, one's own experience, not examining you as an object. You see, it's much easier and less threatening to say, well, all right, I'll measure all kinds of things about you, and then I'll know all about personality. To examine my experiences with you means I've got to really look into myself and make some sense out of inner experience. I think I haven't gotten that fully clear yet, but it upsets our whole notion of psychological pseudoscience, of psychological science as it is today.
Do you mean pseudoscience?
Yes. Well, I do, and
part of it anyway.
Yeah, part of it, because it's perhaps pseudo is too strong a word, but it's a mistaken science. They've tried to follow the image of the hard sciences, physics and so on, when they are not in any sense ready for that. And I don't think that model will ever fit a human science. We've got to develop our own model of science that fits the field. And that model would have to do with looking within the person, not just trying to treat him as a molecule or something. It's so that it is threatening, because if they took me seriously, it would mean an overturning of their viewpoint of science. It would mean admitting that they are involved as persons in their work. It's much more comfortable to feel I'm not involved as a person, I'm just the tool of growing science. And some of those things are quite threatening.
Yes, and I think that's an explanation. I think the other explanation is if you're also good in that area, how could you be good in the other area? I think there's a sense of not wanting to see the complexity of of you.
Maybe so.
Yeah, because you do have I've sensed a tough cognitive head there that has demonstrated its research and whatnot, and you're not given credit for that.